Discover College Soccer podcast is sponsored by VIO. VIO is the #1 AI camera solution helping players capture college recruitment videos. Check out their new starter and family options by clicking on the link in the description or visit Discover College Soccer to learn more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Alex from Life University in Georgia. Welcome, Coach.
Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being here. We're talking here mid-November. You guys just wrapped up your season. Um, I know it's always hard when you're talking to me and not preparing for a tournament game. But such is the way of the world. So you guys being NAIA, kind of what is your recruiting timeline now that the season is over? Are you how much of your 24 class is done? Are you looking at 25s? Kind of what's your timeline? What's that look like right now?
Yeah, so on the men's side, typically we wait a little bit, before we recruit. So we're not typically looking at sophomores or juniors at our level. We're looking more at seniors, high school seniors, obviously. And that recruiting process started about 2-3 weeks ago. So typically early November we start things back up. From July till late October, we are in the season, so there's very little time to recruit as well, as you have to prepare your teams for competition. So, but right now, we have started recruiting domestically and internationally. So the NIA obviously, recruits internationally heavily as well. So in our team, it's about, I would say 70-30, 70% international, 30% domestic. So, and then since we're in Georgia, we look predominantly in the Southeast. So Georgia and the surrounding states, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. That's where most of our recruits domestically are coming from.
So talk to me a little bit more. Well, let's break it down by domestic, international. So on the domestic side, you mentioned the Southeast. So are there events that you kind of have on your must-see list over the next 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, so my assistant coach just came back from Florida. He was there in ID camp. So typically we will visit about 8 to 10 ID camps in the area, then been brought up either by clubs or by organizations. And then if players submit us a video or an email where the email catches our interest, because a lot of times we in our university, we receive about 5,000 emails a year from players that want to come play here. So we have to be critical when we read these emails, and there's a couple of criteria that we look at. First of all, is it a generic email, that they send to everybody? Sometimes they misspell my name or they misspell my assistant coach's name. So that's a big no-no. We look at the GPA of a player. For us, we like to recruit players with a GPA of 3.0 and higher. So that's an important feature that we look for in the email. But if we like the email and we like the video that's attached in the email, we typically ask for full game footage so we can see the player in a full game environment. And then what we will do, if we're really interested from that point on, we will then ask for a schedule and kind of see if we can make it out to a game, a club game that they play over the winter break. So we'll send 1 or 2 coaches out there. And if they come back very enthusiastic about the player, then I might go myself for a final visit and invite the player in for a visit to come to campus and talk to see if we can bring that player in for our team for the following season.
Okay. Well, now we'll flip over to the international side because I'm guessing you're not flying to see a player play multiple times with multiple coaches. So what does the international recruitment process look like?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to Italy in about 3-4 weeks. We don't go a lot to abroad, but the same thing for international players. They would send us a video. We would look at videos. That's actually what we're doing now every single day for the last 2 weeks. We spend about 3 hours of our day in the morning to look at videos. Again, there we're also looking for certain features. What level does the player play at? What position does the player play at? his height, his strength, his all that comes with the position. So we look at those features as well. At Life, we have 5 criteria for each player, domestic or international. That's your technical ability, your insight, so how well do you understand the game, your decision making, your physicality, are you able to winning the battles, the duels, your speed, and not just your speed of play, but also your handling speed, how fast can you handle the ball. And then the last part, which is nowadays, I think, a very important part of the recruiting process, is your mentality, your character. So, for example, we watched a video the other day from an international player that constantly, after a play, was arguing with the referees. That's a no-no, for us. So, and it could be as simple as that if we notice that in the video. Again, same process there. Once we like what we see, we want to see full game footage. We start inquiring about the player. I'm from the Netherlands originally, so in Europe, and I come from the professional level in Europe, so my network is quite vast. So it's easy for me to kind of find out what level it is, and perhaps I know somebody in that country that can figure out more for me, background on that player. Again, because that mentality, character piece is important. As well when we bring them in. So then we're trying to see social media accounts. We do that, by the way, for domestic players as well, to kind of see what kind of person is this, and are they a good fit to come into our program.
Great. Those are some phenomenal insights for our listeners, both domestic and international. Well, let's talk about the school. I'm sure there's some folks out there maybe not familiar with Life University there in Georgia. You've been there a few years now. So what can you tell me? What are some of the awesome things about your school, some things that stick out, maybe even some things we wouldn't know just by going through the website?
Yeah, so Life University is located near downtown Atlanta. It's in a suburb called Marietta, Georgia. It is about a mile and a half away from the Atlanta Braves Stadium. We are a block away from the Atlanta United training grounds. So our campus is extremely green, which is rare to find in a downtown environment. We have about 12 miles of hiking trails on campus. So it is, once we get a player on campus, we almost 99.9% get a commit because the campus is so beautiful. Our facilities are absolutely top class. I've coached Division I, NCAA Division I, professional level in Europe, as mentioned. These facilities are unbelievable. So you name it, we got it. The university itself has about 3,000 students. It is known for its chiropractic degree. It is the #1 school in the world for the Doctor of Chiropractic program. But we also have one of the best exercise science programs in the Southeast. So when players want to go into that direction, they do. Most of my players, though, go for their business degree here at the university. So, and we have some pretty unique internships with all these pro teams around town as well. So if players want to go into business and basically go into sports management, sports marketing, they can do that. And then our psychology degree is very well known as well. So there are a couple of different directions. For example, we do not have an engineering degree. We do not have a law degree. So for those degrees, you shouldn't attend Life University, obviously. But the university is very international. So we have a lot of different nationalities on the university. And in fact, international students get a discount when they attend Life University. So it is also encouraged to have so. And of course, being in Atlanta has a lot of advantages because you have, of course, the big sports teams, but you have the true American life, as many players are looking for, but also the big airport, nearby. So we're about 25 minutes away from Hartsfield International Airport. So it has that advantage as well. But yeah, that's in a nutshell a little bit about the university itself. So I thoroughly enjoy it. It's really hard to top this in terms of facilities, university-wise. We have brand new dorms for the student athletes. It cost about $60 million to construct. They're about 2 years old. If you're too lazy to take the stairs or to take the elevator, there's even a slide that takes you down. I kid you not. So these dorms are definitely high end. If you visit our website, you can, or you go to YouTube, you can see them. It's unbelievable all the facilities there are available to the athletes, to the regular students as well. So it truly is a hidden gem inside of Atlanta.
Well, you mentioned some of the academic programs, but in terms of, high school students becoming college athletes, sometimes that jump can be difficult managing your school demands and your sport demands. So, how do your players do that? What kind of support systems does the school offer to make sure kids are successful both in the classroom and on the field?
Yeah, so we have, like most universities, obviously we the transition is quite a jump from high school to college athletics. So we have on staff a nutritionist that will help with your dietary needs, because obviously, you're on your own now. So we want to make sure you eat healthy food, you eat all the right types of food. We have on staff a psychologist, so also mentally nowadays, to make that transition, because obviously the demands are much higher, both academically in our program. Like I said, our team GPA is a 3.54. Average team GPA for men's soccer or men's sports, that is a very high GPA. There's pressure there as well that your grades stay good. We monitor that. We have people, an academic coordinator, two people that monitor that just for the student athletes. And me as a coach gets a report every 2 weeks to kind of see where my players are grade wise. Then, of course, we have study hall, we have tutors available to the athletes, to make sure that those grades do stay at a acceptable level, and make sure that the players stay eligible as well. Um, we have a strength and conditioning coach, so that's where they go also 3-4 times to make sure that physically they are ready to compete at our level. That's on the athletic side. Like as I mentioned, on the academic side, you also get a counselor assigned to you that helps you with your class schedule. It helps you with your course load and the direction that you want to go into with your degree. Then we have on staff also career services people. So once you choose that direction, they make sure that when you graduate, there might be a job waiting for you, or that you can go into an interview as well. So basically, when they come into the door to when they finish their degree, there's guidance all the way through. Our university is a little bit unique that we have a food fuel station. So, for example, after practice, players go in. It's sponsored by Gatorade, and they go into our nutritionist's fuel station. We have 3 of them on campus, and they can get a snack or a drink, so that way they're not going into class with an empty belly. So all these things are being monitored, are being watched, so that the athlete and the student both can be successful on the field and off the field as well. So once a player is sliding with his grades, then we start investigating why that is. Sometimes it's laziness on the athlete's part, or they like the Xbox or the PlayStation too much. Sometimes, it's simply they don't understand the subject, or sometimes they're maybe on the wrong path. So then we will meet with the counselors and see if we can find a solution so that the student can become successful again, and the grades are improving as they're here. We're on a quarter system at Life University, so it's a little different than semester system. So each quarter we can kind of monitor as well, the success of an athlete, of a student. But it's a teamwork. There's a whole team of people around each individual, and each individual gets an individual approach. So it's not like a whole group of people. We look at each individual and then say, okay, what's best for that individual, and how can we help him succeed?
No, that's great. That's a really really good setup you got there, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be a lot of schools jealous of all that. In terms of a typical week, so let's back it up a couple weeks. You're in the middle of conference season. can you just walk me through what a typical week might look like for a player in terms of winter classes, meals, practice, game cadence, all that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So we train Monday through Friday. NIA tells us that we have to give the athlete 1 day off. So typically we give them 2 days off. We give them Saturday, Sunday off. Unless we have a game on Saturday, then they just have the Sunday off. But we train Monday through Friday. We train from 7 to 9 a.m. each morning. So it's early mornings for my guys, but that's how they get their game started, their day started. Then after practice, a group will go to class. They have class at 9, so they leave practice at 8:30 to go to class. And a group will go to after practice to breakfast. Then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they also have weights, strength and conditioning training on top of their soccer practice. That typically is from noon to 1 each day. So they go to class, let's say from 9 to 11, then they go to weights, and then they have class again from 2 to 4. That's a typical day. The evenings, they are off for studying and so on to make sure that they're ready to go again the following day to repeat it all over again. So that's a typical week for the athlete. Now, it could be that in a week an extra practice is added. It could be that individual practice is added for a player. For example, if you're a winger and you're struggling with your crosses, then the assistant coach will take you out in between classes and do an extra session with you. There's also some video sessions in there. Typically on game day, we don't train. So if we play on a Thursday night, we don't train that Thursday. But we will have a video session that Thursday, and that's typically 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on the opponent.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears, talk a little bit more about the team. Is there a roster size that you're looking to hit each year? Do you guys have a developmental team? What's that look like?
Yeah. So we have last season we had about 38 players on the roster. We typically carry from 32 to 38, 39 players, depending on the year. We have 21 different nationalities in the roster, so it's a very diverse mix of people from all different soccer backgrounds. So obviously, a player that grew up in America and the United States plays differently than a player that grew up in France or Spain, and they play differently than a player that grew up in Africa. So they come from all these different backgrounds, all these different cultures. I'm always amazed on how well they mash and how well they get along. They are becoming your brothers for the next 4 years. So, you are dependent on each other somewhat. So, and we typically have a reserve team. So we have two teams. We break them up in two teams, but we don't differentiate between the teams. So some universities, they have a JV team, and a JV team separate from the varsity team. We call the first team and reserve team, but they train together. They get the same gear. We are sponsored by Adidas. They get the same gear, the same outfits, the same approach. The reserve team typically plays about 6 games a season. Also, same approach as the first team. So they get a pre-game snack or meal. They get a post-game meal. They travel also by the same transportation as the first team. The only difference is the level of play. But we do that typically so that players, if they don't get minutes on the first team, they get to play and still develop and get game minutes on the second team. My son plays Division One. Thank goodness he's a starter for the Division One school. But if you are number 25, 26 on that roster, there's no playing time for you. So you basically, all you do is you practice. So we want to avoid that at the NI level. We have that flexibility to have a second team. And every year there's 1 or 2 guys on the second team that surprise us, that we move over to the first squad. And reverse is also the case where 1 or 2 guys on the first guy then might not meet the level that we thought they had, and we demote them down to the reserve squad. So it works both ways, and I think we have a very high retention rate, and I think it's because we take that approach with all 38 players. So a lot of my reserve players are good enough to start for other universities, and I sometimes ask them, like, don't you want to transfer to another university where you can start and play on the first team? And they're like, no, I like to stay here. They like the environment. that we have created over here.
Oh, that's great. Well, besides your roster, obviously you have some staff that are helping you out with a roster that big. So tell me about your staff. What roles do they play? What's that look like?
Yeah, so we have an athletic trainer. Life University for an NIA school is very unique. Most NIA schools have 2 to 3, 4 trainers, athletic trainers for the entire department. We have 12 athletic trainers full time. So our team is assigned with an athletic trainer, and all she does in the fall season, in our season, is she focuses on men's soccer. So she is on our staff, athletic trainer. We are also unique in the fact that we have a doctor of chiropractic assigned to the athletics department for adjustments, for quick diagnosis as well. And then the coaching staff, we have a goalkeeper coach that comes in and works with our goalkeepers in training. I have 3 assistant coaches. One assistant coach, we work with a system called Player Maker. So all the players have a chip on their shoe, and that provides data. That data is shared with all the players at the end of practice. So each practice, a player knows how he has performed in the training session. So it's shared in a group chat. So the players know, okay, and these are their feet. So the emotion takes the emotion out of it. When they come into my office and they say, Coach, why am I not playing, or why am I not starting? Or we look at the data as well. So we analyze that. And one of my coaches is just assigned to that piece. So video analysis, data analysis. So he just focuses on that part. The other 2 assistant coaches focus on the reserve team. And I don't coach reserve team, so they coach the reserve team. I will be at all the reserve team games, especially the home games, but they coach the reserve group. And at the same time, they train the reserve team group while I'm working with the first team group with my other assistant in practice, because we practice at the same time. But they mirror the training that we do with the first team as well. So that's a little bit the role of the staff. The player maker system for me is a blessing, because again, I mean, it takes out the emotional piece. Those are the players' feet. So we can track their work rate, we can track their distances run, their sprints, we can track their pass accuracy, we can track their left, right foot usage. So all these things, combined with video nowadays helps, develop the player and helps set kind of the tone within the practice. So there's no hiding. In my time when I played, you could hide a little bit in practice if you were tired from the night before, but that's not the case with these guys.
Yeah.
Everything is monitored.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those days too. Well, in terms of you and your coaching style, can you give me a little bit about how you feel your coaching style is, and the team style of play in terms of meshing all those you know 20 plus countries and states together?
Yeah, so I'm Dutch, so obviously I like the ball a lot. I like to have the ball to dominate the game. But college soccer is a little different than what I'm used to in Europe, and that's the biggest challenge for us as coaches and for me as a coach, to change the mindset, because European players often think, oh, the United States, and most of our international players come from pro academies abroad, so they have realized that they're not going to accomplish their dream of becoming a pro player, and they now want to focus on studying and getting a degree, and at the same time play at a decent level. So they come over here. But what I have done is I've studied kind of the college game, adjust my game plan to it. College soccer obviously is very physical, it's very fast. So yes, you can want to play possession, which everybody associates with a Dutch guy, and that's certainly the foundation. But you also have to make sure you do the other things right. So we've developed some terminology that we make each incoming player familiar with. So it's a blend of obviously dominating possession football, but also playing the American college system. So on speed, physicality, strength. I think in the college game, transition is a very big piece. So We look at the offensive transition and the defensive transition. So we work a lot on that to make sure we do that with all 11. We'd like to look at the corners, and soccer is a game of angles. So when an opponent is in a 90-degree position, we'd like to play hard press. If an opponent is in a 180 or a 360-degree position with the ball, we'd like to play positional press. So off the ball, we teach them that. And then on the ball, we teach them a high line, low line, which is in college important. If they play with a high line, which means the defense is close to the middle line, then we look for a ball up and over or a ball through to get behind the line as fast as we can so that we can go to goal. But if they play with a low line, then obviously we build up, we keep the possession, and we're trying to see if we can find an opening on the wings or an opening through the middle, if we can sucker the other team out of position so that we can capitalize on that. And then the last piece that in college is very important that we spend a lot of time on are set pieces. So corner kicks, free kicks, which I think at the youth level, maybe people don't use or don't spend as much time on. In college, we spend a lot of time on that because a lot of games are decided that way. So both defensively and offensively, I typically spend about an hour and a half, 2 hours a week on just that, corner kicks and free kicks.
Yeah, I want to an area of the game people need to spend more time on. I think I agree with you there. Well, Coach, you've been generous with your time. I don't want to keep it too long. I like to end these with one final question, and that is, if there was one piece of information, one nugget that you wish every player, parent, prospect who wants to play in college would have, what would that piece of information be?
Well, I mean, I'll give you a little synopsis on it. You know, don't take no for an answer. If you want to play in college, you can play in college, but you got to do the things right. So, for example, I'm watching videos right now, and if you're a defender and I get a highlight video of you, make sure the highlight video clearly marks you. But if you're a defender, show me your defensive skills. Of course, I want to see you build up a little bit, but I'm not interested in all your goals. I'm going to recruit you to defend for my team. So please include defensive highlights. So many times we get videos or we get people telling me like, my son can score so many goals or he's all this or all that. But if you're a defender, show me that. If you're a midfielder, show me your offensive and defensive transition. Show me your passing skills, so include that in your highlight video. And then make sure you address the email right. Put the email, in the correct wording. Make sure it captures my attention because as you can imagine, if I get 5,000 emails, what does a SEC or ACC Division One coach get in terms of number of emails? So we can't look at all those emails. So be unique, be persistent in pursuing your dream, and then there's a room for everybody. I'm convinced of that. But the last piece of advice that I will give you, make sure your grades are in order because you're a student athlete. Student comes before athlete. So you're not here to get a soccer degree. The soccer part is bonus. The biggest trophy that you can win when you come to a university is your diploma, your degree at the end of your time here at the university.
Absolutely. Coach, couldn't have said it better. Well, I appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck as you get hot and heavy into the recruiting season. And if you get down to any of the soccer tournaments down here in Bradenton, Florida, let me know and we'll grab a cup of coffee or something. All right.
Sounds good. I
All right.
appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Coach. Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country, along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school, and more. Plus, there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there.